Well, hello there. I would like to welcome you to Pioneer Human Services annual Changemaker Luncheon Series. This is obviously the first time we're doing the event virtually, and one thing that we're excited about is that guests who normally wouldn't be able to make it to Seattle can actually join us. So thanks to those of you who are doing so today. My name is Angela Russell, and I'm the co-host of this lifestyle and entertainment show in Seattle called Evening. And I have been emceeing this event for 6 years now. And like many of you, I should say, I believe in redemption. I believe in second chances. I believe in justice. And so I am so passionate about the work that Pioneer Human Services is doing. And I hope that you are too, enough to support us. You know, a lot of the funds that are raised will support stable housing and employment for individuals working to rebuild their lives in our communities. And many of the people that Pioneer serves have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19 and need your support now more than ever. I just want to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors. We have several of them that we want to acknowledge, and we really appreciate all they're doing to support us. I would also like to thank Pioneer's Board of Directors for their support and their commitment to Pioneer's mission. And now I want to introduce to you Pioneer's inspiring CEO, Karen Lee.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Karen Lee, the CEO at Pioneer. I joined Pioneer as CEO almost 10 years ago because Pioneer's mission truly matters. It matters to our clients, our former clients, our neighbors, our workforce, and our entire community. Our mission as a social enterprise is to provide support, housing, employment, and treatment to those who have been involved in the legal system. At Pioneer, we believe in investing in people, not prisons. Along with our services, Pioneer advocates for just public policies. In the past few years, we have helped lead the charge to remove questions about criminal histories from job applications, first in various Washington cities and ultimately statewide. We have worked closely with the City of Seattle to create the most progressive anti-discrimination housing law in the country, and we're advocating for that same law to be passed statewide. We have spearheaded the effort to create a statewide reentry council, which brings state-level leadership and visibility to the very important issue of reentry. We helped reform the legal financial obligation system that has resulted in crippling debt for people coming out of prison and people that have a conviction on their records. These are just a few of our many advocacy efforts. We're only able to do this work because we have wonderful community partners, and that includes you. Your gift to Pioneer makes a difference. Next, this animated video provides a glimpse into the size and disparities in today's prison system and how pioneers support success in our communities.
We have all heard the phrase mass incarceration, and most of us are aware that there is a racial disparity in the criminal legal system in this country. But what does that really mean? Well, nationally, almost 2.3 million people are imprisoned, and an additional 4.4 million are on some form of probation and parole. Though the United States has less than 5% of the world's population, we hold nearly 25% of its prisoners. African American men are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of white men. And for women, the fastest growing group of incarcerated people, the imprisonment rate for African American women is 2 times more than white women. But what about here in Washington? There are 18,000 people in state prisons. An additional 22,000 are on some form of probation or parole, and thousands more cycle through jails every single day. African Americans make up only 4% of Washington's population, but account for 18% of the prison population. Other communities of color are overrepresented as well. The social and human costs of mass incarceration are staggering, and so are the economics. In Washington state alone, it costs an average of $41,230 to hold someone in prison for 1 year. That stacks up to $1 billion of Department of Corrections spending every year. At Pioneer, we believe in investing in people, not prisons. We have been serving people involved in the legal system since 1963 by giving justice-involved individuals a place to live, access to behavioral health care, and stable employment. We're reducing the deeper social problems that often stem from a lack of opportunity and result in imprisonment. By doing so, we are improving our clients' quality of life, which in turn improves their family life, friendships, neighborhood, and our broader community. Last year, we served over 10,000 people in Washington State. That is 10,000 people who are given the opportunity to break out of the cycle of mass incarceration and lead healthy, productive lives in our community.
At Pioneer, we are proud of our employees, many of whom have overcome significant barriers to build healthy, happy, and productive lives. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Derek and Marquita, who are featured in this video.
I grew up with two alcoholic parents. They were just struggling to get by. My dad was pretty detached from the family. He wasn't able to provide me with the emotional and psychological support that I needed. And so I turned to the streets and I looked for a group of guys that could teach me how to be a man.
I grew up in West Seattle, pretty much very, very religious family. We did a lot of church. I feel like because maybe we did a lot of church, that's kind of what drew me to the streets, because we weren't allowed to do a lot of things that our friends could do. I had to see what I was missing. I wanted to get out in those streets, and when I got old enough, I thought I'd go see.
I think the first time that I ever actually broke the law, I was probably 12 or 13 years old. Me and my buddies, we would go into stores and steal cigarettes off the shelves because they were easily accessible back then. And I think my first charge was a shoplifting charge. And I went into juvie, I think, for 24 hours or something like that. My parents got me out. And it just slowly escalated.
After my second son, I gained more weight than I did with the first, and I couldn't lose it. The weight just was not coming off. A friend told me about cocaine, and so I started snorting it. And then eventually I started using crack. Somebody told me that, I think the words were, "Oh, you're wasting it, using it that way. You need to try it this way." That's when things just really started going down, I think. At that time, I was working at the phone company, and I was able to manage it for a little while, but eventually I lost my job.
I started selling crank for a friend of mine, and I turned on all my buddies in Marysville to that stuff. And I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but a majority of those guys are still up there selling it and doing that. When I turned 19, I got my first DUI, and I went and did 24 hours in Evergreen Camp back then. I think 2 years later, I got another one when I was 21 years old, which was this never-ending cycle of failure at life, basically.
That's when I began to shoplift to support my habit. And just kind of running the streets, was in jail from the north end of Seattle, Snohomish County, to Pierce County. Spent a lot of time in jail. I did that for about 6.5 years.
I was homeless for a while. In the grip of my drug addiction, once I got to a point to where I started using heroin, I just went to the streets for about 1.5 years. I don't even have a desire to go get a job at this point. I'm just out committing crimes at night, high on meth and smoking heroin all day, staying asleep, and just feeding my addiction that way. I just take to that lifestyle like a duck in water because I just know it so well.
I would leave my kids with friends and say, "I'm going to be right back," and I'd be gone for days. My oldest son, who was 8 at the time, somewhere I left him, called my mom and dad, told them that, Mom's gone and we don't know where she's at, and so to come get them. My mom told me that we came and got Kevin and Joey. I don't want to say I abandoned them, but because it hurts to say that, but I guess I did.
I remember I was high on heroin with my kids trick-or-treating with the now ex-wife and her sister and, the whole family. And they knew that I was high, and they let me stay that night. And the next day she said, "Derek, you gotta go." And so I said, okay. And I grabbed a backpack and I packed it full of clothes. And my son Brandon was sitting on the bed. I just walked up to him like it was nothing. And I just gave him a hug and I said, "I love you, but I gotta go." I kind of had some tears in my eyes, but I knew that this was what I was gonna do. And just looking at that little guy's face, because all he's ever wanted was his dad, And so I was like, all right, I gotta go. And I hit the street, and I went right back to the same crowd that I was running with.
The last time I went to jail, the judge told me that my next stop will be Purdy. At about that 6.5 year point, I was just done. And when they told me Purdy was the next stop, that just helped my decision to not be on the streets anymore.
Scary thing about the heroin is that at one point it removed all emotion from me. I remember sitting there talking to a guy that I used to use with, and we'd have these conversations about our family, and I tell him that I miss my family, but I don't really feel any loss of love. And that scared me. I didn't like that because I know I loved my kids, but it was almost like I just didn't care anymore. And that's what that drug did to me. Either way, it was enough to scare me into saying, I need some help.
Wow, such compelling stories, and I cannot wait to hear more. So please join us on September 17th to hear more about how Pioneer helped them turn their lives around. Thank you so much for joining us for the first part of this virtual series, if you will. And our goal during this time is to raise $225,000, and it's to support our clients during this challenging time. All dollars will go to our programs and to our clients. So here's what you need to do if you want to give. You can just click the donate button on Pioneer's website. That's pioneerhumanservices.org. That's pioneerhumanservices.org. Or you can just send a text. You text Pioneer to 345-345. Again, that's Pioneer to 345-345. Now, during our Change Maker campaign, if you give more than $500, you are entered into a drawing for 2 round-trip tickets anywhere Alaska Airlines flies. And again, it's for anyone who donates more than $500 during this series. Again, I can't thank our sponsors enough. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And again, when you join us next week, you will hear about all of the programs and the tools and skills that Derek and Marquita utilized to make the changes in their lives that they made. And don't miss our exciting live stream. That is on September 24th at noon with keynote speaker and criminal justice reform advocate Adam Foss. We will see you then. Bye-bye.